I haven't returned to Yellowstone National Park since the summer of 2001. You're probably wondering why I've stayed away for over 2 decades, especially since there's no real sign of an imminent eruption. The park has so much to offer, famous landmarks like Old Faithful, incredible wildlife, and picturesque views perfect for family photos. But something happened there that shook me to my core, and I've had no desire to set foot in that place again. Whatever I experienced still lingers in the back of my mind, sending quiet reminders that it's not finished with me. It all began after my second year of college, when a friend and I decided to take a summer road trip. Our plan was to drive from New Jersey to Malibu. Chasing warm weather, a few food stands, and maybe even a little romance. It wasn't well thought out, but we made time to visit family along the way, first mine in Ohio, then his in Wyoming, with a brief stop in Nevada before heading straight to California. After hours of swapping driving shifts through Ohio, we were completely drained. We agreed to take a break and rented a cabin near Yellowstone to explore the area for a few days before continuing our journey. I vaguely remember him warning me about a dish his grandmother always made that he hated, peach pie, maybe. He just asked me to smile, be polite, and quietly dispose of it without hurting her feelings. What I remember clearly is him bringing up something called the kill zone. He was packing snacks and gear when he casually said, "There's this part of the park where, if someone dies, only a handful of locals can legally serve on a jury. Cases there take forever." I raised an eyebrow while sliding my bare mace into an easy-to-reach spot in my pocket. I chuckled and shook my head. That can't be true. My friend was a trivia fanatic. If he wasn't quoting Nietzsche in Russian or going on about the geology of the landscapes we passed, he was rattling off bizarre facts like this one. He was adamant, insisting, "I'm serious. That's why people disappear out here. My mom constantly warns me, never go into Yellowstone alone." I laughed, brushing off his concern. Maybe she's just worried you'll end up in a boiling spring. He always had a flair for dramatics, especially when it came to safety. If there was even a slight risk, he'd point it out like a seasoned ranger. "Jack," he said, lowering his voice a bit, "there's weird stuff in this park. Our families don't tell us to stay together for no reason. Something's off about this place." Sure, I replied with a smirk. "But if we're actually going to make progress on this hike, we should probably get moving." He sighed, clearly frustrated I wasn't taking him seriously. "Yeah, fine. Let's just go." We'd picked a trail near Mammoth Mountain. He had his heart set on exploring the hot springs and whatever else the area had to offer. We drove out, parked near the trailhead, and started walking. Almost right away, he kept glancing around, reminding me to stay alert for bears. I just chuckled, chalking it up to his usual overcautious nature. About halfway through the hike, he suddenly veered off the path, motioning for me to follow. "You're not serious." "The trail's there for a reason," I called after him, making it clear I wasn't on board. "Come on," he said. "It won't take long. Someone showed me this spot last time I was here. You'll want to see it, trust me." I rolled my eyes but gave in. "If I have to explain to your folks that you stumbled into a hot spring, I'm blaming you." He just laughed like he was in on some secret. And to be fair, he wasn't wrong. It didn't take long. Maybe half an hour off the trail, and we came across something strange, a large piece of corroded metal, eaten away by time and weather, sitting beside a lifeless squirrel that looked oddly untouched, almost like it had just stopped mid-nap. The clearing was eerily quiet. No wind, no birds, just the dry crunch of grass beneath our feet and the golden light filtering through the trees. It could have been peaceful, if not for the smell. "God, what is that?" I gagged, covering my nose. But the stench still found its way in. It was thick, metallic, like scorched iron mixed with decay and chemicals, enough to make my stomach churn. Without saying much, my friend handed me an extra mask from his pack and slipped one on himself, as if he'd been expecting this. "I wanted your take on this," he said, his voice low. "You're studying stuff like this, aren't you?" By then, my eyes were stinging, like the sharp burn you get from chopping onions. But it wasn't just the smell. Something about the whole place felt off, like we had crossed into somewhere we weren't supposed to be. The air was charged, almost humming. My skin prickled like it was being exposed to some kind of invisible radiation. I get what you're trying to say, I told him, glancing around, but we don't even have the proper tools to examine this. Honestly, I think we should just leave. He gave a long sigh, the kind that carries weight behind it. Then he looked at me with a defeated expression, even still. You're kind of confirming what I feared. That's when we heard it, a voice, not far off, speaking in a language I couldn't place. I didn't recognize the words. But there was something cold and threatening in the tone. A chill ran up my spine. My friend froze beside me, completely still, like an animal sensing it's being watched. Jack, he said carefully, when I signal you. You need to run. He lifted his hand into a thumbs up, then slowly lowered it again. What are you talking about? I whispered, my voice trembling. This isn't a game. Let's just get out of here. He turned to me, and his eyes were already distant. My friend vanished here, Jack. I think the same thing's about to happen to me. They're trying to decide whether to take me in. But I'm not going to let that happen. You've got people who care about you, I said, panic creeping into my voice. Let's just walk away. Now. His eyes didn't waver. In any other setting, two college guys standing in the woods with high-grade respirators might have looked ridiculous. But now, the absurdity was replaced by something heavier, dread. That's exactly why I'm not going with them, he said, with more conviction than I had in my entire body. They'll kill me for saying no, but they won't go beyond that. That's how it works. It ends with me. He was trying to comfort me. Reassure me. Somehow, he'd already accepted what was coming. I stayed frozen, torn between instinct and disbelief. We still have time, I begged. Let's just. Then I heard it, branches snapping underfoot, slow and deliberate. The sound was getting closer, about 50 feet away now. Heavy steps. Footsteps that belonged to someone powerful. And then, the unmistakable crinkle of plastic being unwrapped. My friend didn't flinch. We locked eyes. No words were spoken, but the goodbye was clear. If you ever meet my family, he said quietly, mention New Zealand. Say it was nice. And tell them I love them. He raised his hand once more in a thumbs up. I didn't wait. I turned and ran as fast as I could. Every branch that snagged my clothes felt like a hand reaching to pull me back. What had taken half an hour to hike took 10 minutes to escape. I didn't stop until I reached the trailhead. My lungs were burning. I ripped the mask off and gasped for air, shaking, drenched in sweat. I could feel it, whatever had taken him was still out there. And now, it knew me too. I let out a choked sob, climbed into my Corolla, and drove. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I fired up the engine and tore out of there like I was being chased by the devil himself. Once I got back to the cabin, I rushed to the landline inside and called the authorities, stumbling over my words as I tried to explain everything. I told them my friend was missing, hurt badly, somewhere along the trail we had taken. I gave them the exact location. I described what I had seen. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Then they told me to stay put, that someone would be sent to question me. When the officers arrived, they grilled me like I was a suspect. I was exhausted, terrified, and still they looked at me like I was hiding something. 17 hours later, they finally dispatched a search team. After 8 more hours, they found the spot I had described. But according to them, there was no rusted metal, no signs of a struggle, no sign of my friend. Just a single dead squirrel lying in a patch of dried grass, next to the faint remnants of a campfire. Squirrels die all the time, son, one of them said dismissively. Doesn't mean there's anything strange about it. Sorry about your friend, though. I stared at him, stunned, probably wandered into a geyser. Another officer joked before being quickly hushed by his partner. Apologies, the older officer said. Some folks forget their manners. But do yourself a favor, don't stray from the trails. People vanish in these parts all the time. One wrong step and you're boiling alive in a hot spring. Acidic pools can dissolve a person so fast there's nothing left to recover. They left soon after, labeling it a simple missing person case. I didn't say a word. I sat in that cabin, motionless, until the morning sun crept through the window. That's when I finally worked up the nerve to pack my things. As I tossed the last of my gear into the car, I noticed something sitting on the passenger seat of my Corolla. It was a hunting knife, carefully placed, blade gleaming in the light. It reeked of rubbing alcohol. My hand started shaking as I tried to get the key into the ignition. I didn't wait around. I pulled onto the main road, leaving that silent cabin, and everything else, behind me. When I arrived at my friend's family home in Wyoming, I told them what I could. I mentioned New Zealand, just like he'd asked. I told them he loved them. They thanked me, quietly. I haven't spoken to them since. I don't think they wanted me to. I never made it to Malibu. After that, I couldn't bring myself to go anywhere near the Yellowstone area again. Instead, I headed south, driving through Georgia before taking the long way home up north. Somewhere near the Wyoming border, I stopped at a small gas station. As I filled the tank, I heard a quiet laugh behind me. "Poocha," a woman said softly to the man beside her. It sounded like a term of endearment, but something about the way she said it chilled me. They passed by my car. The man chuckled. "Hot spring for them," he murmured. They burst into laughter, and for some reason, that moment struck a nerve. When he made that comment, a chilling thought crossed my mind, that whatever remained of my friend, there might never be a body to recover. Their words seared into me like a branding iron. And it took every ounce of restraint not to lash out. Looking back now, I don't even think they were talking about my friend, and that realization terrifies me more than anything else. At the time, all I could think about was getting away from there as fast as possible. For years after, I withdrew from the world, burying myself in studies, keeping as far from that place as I could. But none of that seemed to matter to whoever, or whatever, was behind it. I've been haunted in my own kind of limbo. I hear footsteps around my property that stop just short of my window, disappearing the moment I react. My keys vanish only to reappear once I've already replaced them. Important documents get shifted or go missing entirely. Then came the letter, anonymous, laid neatly at my doorstep like a deliberate warning. Inside was a bizarre, almost prophetic message about the apocalypse and my supposed role in a coming transformation. It spoke of Yellowstone erupting with the aid of nuclear weapons, igniting a new era, and implied I had somehow contributed to this twisted vision. I crushed the letter in my hand, feeling the weight of it even as it went limp, before eventually laying it down on my desk, my hands still trembling. I don't know how much longer I have. The locks on my doors seem useless now. These cryptic notes keep appearing. And I've come to understand that my silence has somehow bound me in a contract I never agreed to. Whoever is behind all this is pulling the strings, and we're just marionettes in a show we don't understand. At first, it sounds delusional. But once you're caught in it, the madness reveals itself for what it truly is. If Yellowstone does erupt, it won't just be a local disaster, it will consume multiple states. A firestorm of destruction, vast as Texas, will descend. Ash clouds will smother entire cities, reaching as far as Chicago. And that's only the beginning. Whoever orchestrates this won't stop there. The entire planet could be cloaked in ash, wherever they choose, whenever they decide. Say what you want about me or what I've experienced. I steer clear of Yellowstone. I want nothing to do with the nightmare that might be unleashed there. My time is running out. But if you're reading this, consider it a warning. Stay away from Yellowstone.